I'm Luxiana Serif. I'm a teacher at Eve University, and today I'll be giving a few quick lessons and tips on how to scan quickly and effectively. If you live in wormhole space, or even if you're a day tripper, you're going to be spending a lot of time scanning. It's one of the most important things that you'll be doing. It's how you find content. It's how you find ISK. You can see over here there's a lot of signatures in this window, so there'll be a lot of scanning that we can possibly be doing. So first off, you're going to want to launch your probes, get yourself out of safe, and cloak up. So you can see I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, safe and sound. And my probes have been launched. So there's two ways you can go about doing this. So first we're going to go over this one over here and show the first easy, quick way. So first thing you can do is you can double click on the signature here in this probe signature window, or you can click on it here in space, and it'll take you over on that map. Then you're going to grab the top face of your scanner. So this box is your scanner probes. You want to grab the top face and move it over to the center it up on here. Then you want to switch your perspective, since we are looking at 3D space here. So you have two buttons you can do that with. You have a top view, side view. Either one of those will work. Top view, side view, top view, side view. Or you can just double click the map and it'll switch back and forth. Once you switch to the side view, go ahead and scroll in here and bring the probes down. You want to use the arrow. Don't use a face. Use an arrow when doing it on this side. Because if I use this face and I go up and down, and I can move it all over the place, right? So I move it over a little bit on accident, and you can see it's no longer centered. But if I center that up, and then use just the up and down arrows, it'll stay centered. Make sure your probes are capturing the entire signature. So you have a couple of different signature types you can see in the probe window. At first, there'll pretty much always be all these spheres. So you want to, when you're looking at the top, you'll get this kind of triple line effect. That's the largest coverage of all of your probes. So you kind of want to keep that sphere inside of that. And go ahead and scan. Now, probe strength is the greatest factor in determining how fast you can scan. You can see I have 136 when I mouse over my probes. That is the max you can get without adding implants. The other factor is your scan deviation. And your scan deviation is going to be affected mostly by skills and by a couple of modules. And what that affects is how far the signature is going to move from that first moment that you scan it. So you saw it moved very little, and I already got down to the signature type because I have a pretty high deviation bonus. Because of that, I can afford to skip a section here on the probe size. I can go from 8 AU all the way down to 2 AU. Make sure I'm centered and rescan. If your deviation isn't that high, you may not be able to do that skip. That is one of the things that will help you speed you up, because it's one less scan. And there you go, one scan it down. With the proper strength and scan deviation bonuses, you can scan a lot of things at 2 AU. That's one of the things that will speed you up the most, is skills. Now, the other thing you can do, if you're scanning an entire system and you're looking for content, and you want to be fast, you see if I select all the probe windows over here, I can just click in the probe window, hit Control A, it'll select all the signatures at once. I got all the spheres at once. So what I can do is just kind of center up, expand my probes to cover most of them, the vast majority of them, and I'm going to scan from here. Now, remember, these spheres say that the signature can be anywhere on the surface of that sphere. That's what this sphere means. So by catching all of them, I'm going to drop all those spheres at once down to just dots. The dots say it should be somewhere in this area based on your scan deviation. So I'll click over on this one. We'll scroll on a little bit. We'll move that there. And we'll go up. And I'm going to drop down 3 because I started at 16 AU, which is a pretty big AU number. 2 is usually fine. Or 8 is usually a fine place to start. Scan this down. Alright, we got it. Cool. That's helpful to have signatures. There's a couple of other ways these... Let's see if we can trigger one of them out. A couple of other ways these signatures can go through their deviation here and show you different possibilities. Okay, well, let's see if we can get one to spawn the way I want it to. not always easy. There's one of them. Both of them are here. Great. So we've got this circle. So the circle is saying that the actual signature has got to be somewhere on this radius. You can try and cheese your way through it, because in theory it's got to be within 3 to 4 AU of the planet itself, of a planet, within 0 to 4 AU, 0 to 3 AU, something like that. But in reality, it's just not worth the time. I usually just click over here, treat it like any other signature. It just makes sure when I go in by 1, that's too much. It's not catching the actual circle. I need to catch the actual circle in the center. And we got the other type here, which is the barbell. So if you remember, my probes were over here before. There's a secret to the barbell of the line. It's almost always going to be right on top of the farthest away node from where you last scanned. So I last scanned over here. This node, if I look around, is the closest. Click over here, pull my probes over here, scroll down, change it, drop by 1. I generally try and still cover at least half the bar, because depending on your deviation, it can drift up and down that bar somewhere. But if you have high enough deviation bonuses and a good enough strength, it's probably going to be right on that value, right on that endpoint there. So we'll go ahead and scan. And I'm using hotkeys to increase and decrease my scan radiuses and use scans. Yep, see? Got it. Boom, right there. Moved a little bit up the bar, but other than that, it was perfectly fine. Now, let's say you're in a C5, which is what I'm in, right? If I go here, I go to show info, it's an E, this is a C5. I'm not going to want this data site. It's useless to me. I'm not a combat ship. I'm not going to hack anything there where there's rats there. So I could just stop scanning it right now if I wanted to. In Uni, we generally scan them down all the way, but you don't have to. Like, this is not something people are going to generally do at a C5. But now let's say we've scanned a bunch of signatures down. Let's go ahead and pretend these are both scanned all the way down. We want to get them in the Pathfinder, right? So we'll go ahead and click over here in the probe scanner window, and then we're going to hit Control A. You can see all of them are selected now. I'll hit Control. Whoops, someone just made me Fleet Boss. Go ahead and select all of them, and then hit Control C. And then we will flip over here to Pathfinder. Oops. Okay, so over here in Pathfinder, now there's a couple things to know first off. If you click on this window right here, you can switch your layout for where your windows are. You can even select what windows you have in here. So I can take off there, I can take off the kill board, I can take off the graphs. That's up to you. This is your total individual customization, and as you choose to do it, it will affect nobody else. I generally like to have the map of the largest size and at least the signatures and routes available. So we'll go ahead and click on the signature system here. Now I am scanning on a character that is not registered with the Uni, so can't actually access the Pathfinder, but you can still get the idea here. So we're going to go down here, and now it doesn't matter where you are. You just have to have Pathfinder focused and the probe signatures copied. And you can hit Control V from anywhere, and you see they pop up. Now we got data, we got wormholes, everything we had and know is already input in here. Now it's showing timestamp values here because I'm on a private map, so it's not getting everything it's supposed to. But we'll show off some of that in a moment. Now I can go ahead and fill in the wormhole type once I've warped to it. H296, and this one is an EU. Boom. And once I jump through, I'll want to come back here and update this with the new system. So if I add another system, TC9AY, right? Pretend I just jumped through that system, so it's connected a wormhole there. I can come down here and I can say, hey, this one leads to PCA9, even though it actually can't. It leads to a C4, but Pathfinder doesn't care. It's just going to connect anyone you want. And then you could toggle EOL from here. You could toggle the mass status, and you can also toggle this. Now, most time, if you actually jump the hole properly and it connects and you connect it through here and it's the correct hole, it should populate that L and XL as long as in the other system you've also populated the return value. So having both signatures on both systems returned, it should automatically create this L. And if it doesn't, well, you can right click on it and say ship size. And that's useful because we're going to want to be aware of the medium holes and especially aware of the frig holes. So that's all copied and pasted there. And that would be updating it. That'd be very easy, very simple. Now let's say I don't have this YVJ signature on here. And let's go back to Eve real quick. And over here in Eve, let's say, let's go ahead and ignore this location. Let's just say that signature's disappeared. And I want to know a quick and easy way I can know which signature is new. This, did I ignore? Let's ignore this one. I want to know which signature is new, which signatures are gone, which signatures still exist, all that kind of stuff. I want to know all this information, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control A and Control C again, just like before. Go back to Pathfinder, like so, and click on the system. And then when I paste, you can see all the new SIGs got pasted in here. I don't know why there's a bunch of extra SIGs. Doesn't matter. All the new SIGs got pasted in here. Now, this is again showing timestamps rather than the actual time. Normally what you would see is something more like this, with actual times on how long ago it was pasted. It is a very good habit that every single time you exit the FortiZar, every single time you enter a system, just grab all the signatures and paste them. Doesn't matter whether you scan them or not, because what you're looking for is that updated field. If all of these change to 1 second when I paste it, great, all the signatures are still there. If a new one pops up, great, you know there's a new signature. And if one of these remains at 56 minutes when I pasted them all, then you also know, oh, that signature's gone. Let's go ahead and delete it, clean up the bookmarks. And you can delete it with this red X. You can also use the signature reader to paste in signatures here, and then do a delete and update signatures through this method out here if you would like something a little bit more laid out and direct. But the quick way is just to copy, paste, and then delete everything that still has a long time since last updated. Last little bit here. We'll head back over into Eve. So last little bit here, I'm going to go ahead and warp to the hole. Now I warped to 0 at the signature. The actual signature is about 10 to 15 kilometers away from the wormhole, or at least that's where you're going to land when you warp to it. So it is vitally important when you warp to a wormhole that you don't bookmark the signature, but you instead bookmark the wormhole on grid. Click on this part right here, save location, name it, continue. Because that will create an actual bookmark on the wormhole itself. So if I was to warp to that bookmark, I wouldn't land 10 kilometers off, I'd land at 0, which when you're in a hurry is very, very useful. Either you're running from somebody or you're chasing somebody. You don't want to be slow boating this 10 kilometers. You can't jump until you're within 5. So if you can have the bookmark right on the hole, you'll land within 2 to 3 kilometers off of it and be able to jump right away. So those are the basics. Those are some of the quick methods here for scanning. Feel free to reach out to me in the EveUni Discord if you have any questions.